Hi, I'm Thomas.
And I'm Iris.
And today we want to go over how the real estate market has been performing in the first quarter of 2023.
Yes, we'll be quickly going over how the Bay Area is performing.
And then the rest of the video, we're actually going to focus more on where the national real estate market is at.
Oh, I feel like a lot more people will be more interested in that.
What? Really? Why?
I don't know. A lot of people have been telling me it's all doom and gloom and bad news.
That's interesting. Well, we'll definitely get into that later to talk about national prices and also affordability.
Awesome, so let's get right into it.
We all know that since rates shot up in March last year, the real estate landscape has changed drastically.
Yes, that's right.
A lot of people are not sure what to do. Many people held off on buying and selling in 2022, but things have changed in 2023.
Many people held off on buying and selling in 2022, but have things changed in 2023?
That's a great question, Iris.
First, let's talk about the South Bay Area. Yes, Santa Clara County. Where are we at?
Great question. In Santa Clara County, April of 2023, we saw that home prices are actually right around where they were in February of 2022.
What? That's crazy. Were an interest rate around 3% at that time?
Yes, and now they're at 6%, and buyers are back out in the market and shopping for homes. We've also seen days on market drop down drastically from a height of 35 days in January, and it's come down to around 19 days last month in April. For most of the second half of last year, we saw a lot of homes going on the market and sitting for long periods of time, sometimes without even selling. Maybe 60% of the homes that went on the market actually sold. Now, things are starting to turn up this year. In March and April, almost 85% to 90% of homes that went on the market actually sold. This is great news for sellers, and we're also seeing a lot more sellers entering the market. Some more great news for sellers is that we are finally seeing sales to list price ratio go above 100% and selling over list price. This started happening in January and has been rising steadily versus dropping all of last year. Next up, let's talk about Alameda County. I'll let Iris cover that as she has a good friend that lives in that area.
Okay, great. We're seeing a lot of the same trends as in Santa Clara County. Days on the market also peaked in January at 37 days and has dropped down to 19 days in April. Look at these numbers for June to October. Many homes went on the market and did not sell, almost 50%. That is crazy. And again, in March and April, things shot up in a big way. Almost 85% to 90% of homes that went on also sold. Sales to list price ratio started climbing up in January, mirroring Santa Clara County, and the sale prices have also come up since November. Lastly, let's take a look at San Mateo County.
San Mateo County's numbers, they don't look as good, but that's because it's a higher priced county. Home prices in San Mateo County can average above $3 million, while Santa Clara and Alameda are closer to 1.8 to $2 million. Days on market peaked in January at 40 and have now dropped to 24 days to sell. During June to November, we did not see many home sales compared to the amount of homes that went on the market, but the ratio is now better in March and April. Sales to list price in San Mateo County actually dropped below 100% last year and has been creeping up since January. And sales prices in April, well, those are comparable to February and last year. Welcome to the monthly market report for May 2023 nationally. These are the topics that really matter right now in real estate. There are a couple of things here that I just want to point out. The dividing line between the red and green is at 6.5%. The last time we spoke, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate was knocking on the door of 7%, and sometimes it went even over 7%. Today, we've had several significant things that have happened in the economy, and we're sitting around just below 6.5%. Certainly, we're seeing a more positive rate environment. A good demand environment here for buyers that are out in the market shopping. In a couple of minutes, Iris is going to come on and she's going to talk about affordability. But as rates come down it does make homes more affordable. One of the things that people have said that I want to talk about for just a minute is that the only way for homes to become more affordable is if prices come down. And I don't believe that to be true necessarily, because there are 3 factors that influence affordability. Iris will go over those more in depth, but they are prices, interest rates, and wages. If I were to tell the story of home prices in this country, I would maybe give you a perspective from last fall. And I would go back to some headlines around the October and September time that were kind of out in the market. Topics or headlines like US homes might plunge 20%, says the Dallas Fed. Fortune also came out and said there are 210 housing markets at risk of losing 15 to 20% in home price declines. Why is this so important? Well, neuroscientists have found that people spend about 90% of their lives using what's called narrative circuitry rather than direct experience. And so in other words, we spend 90% of our lives telling ourselves what's happening. And that same thing happens in real estate. If you read an article last fall saying home prices would fall by as much as 20%, maybe you're telling yourself, that's what's actually going to happen this year. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Our team has built some great graphics that allow you to step in and say, here's exactly what's happening with home prices. So as we kick that off, I want to start right here. It's with a Case-Shiller home price appreciation year-over-year look in the top 20 cities. Now, the reason that this is so important, you look there, what do you see? You see a lot of green in the top 20 cities. Now, you do see some red there in West Coast cities, Portland, San Diego, San Francisco, and Seattle. That's year over year, comparing January of 2023 to January of 2022. That national number that you see in the upper right-hand corner of appreciation over the last year, it's actually at 3.8%. Why is this so important? It's so important because it's nowhere near what all those headlines said in the fall, right? They said a 20% depreciation. Sure, there have been some markets that have seen depreciation. A few West Coast-based markets that are very heavy in tech markets right now, but it's not happening in the rest of the country. If we continue this look at year-over-year prices from FHFA, we see the same exact story. The Pacific region being flat, and every other region appreciating their national rate of appreciation, 5.3%. If we start to look at the month-over-month pricing, the situation's a little bit different. And this is the same look from Case-Shiller month over month in January. This information runs a few months in arrears, and it's the best information you can get on pricing. So what do we see the overwhelming majority? There's slight month over month depreciation, but not this runaway scenario of depreciation. You see a few markets in the green: Atlanta, Boston, Charlotte, Chicago, and Cleveland. Slight appreciation, and in some other areas, slight depreciation. Okay, so that's month over month. If we look at the same with FHFA, we see sort of a mixed bag there as well. Some regions being down and some regions being up. Some regions being completely flat. So here's the case that I would make. And I'm going to give you sort of a month over month look over the last year. Because I think the case we can make is some of the worst depreciation is behind us. And it's this right here. This month over month appreciation or depreciation from FHFA and Case-Shiller going all the way back to January of last year. And so what do we see? What's the story here? Well, we start off the year in 2022 with great appreciation. We come to about the middle of the year in July, and we start to see that turn happening. And most of that depreciation, it really peaked in the fall in both of those graphics, in August, September time, and it has stabilized and has not taken those massive dips going forward since the fall. Why is this so important? This is important to understand that prices in the country are not in a free fall. But now we have the official numbers. This comes from Black Knight. Home prices nationally are now down 2.6% from their 2022 peak. Down 2.6%, not down 20%, not down anywhere even close to that number. Freddie Mac reported this in the Calculated Risk blog that its national home price index is down 2.5% from its June 2022 peak. If you put all these numbers together and build them into a graph, this is what that would look like. Nowhere near what some of those headlines and what some of the doomsayers said last fall about what would happen in real estate. We've seen a 2 to 2.5%, depending on what you look at, depreciation in residential real estate. Headlines often do more to terrify people than to actually clarify what's happening, and that's our job as your realtor. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Iris here to talk about affordability. And affordability is a topic that's being discussed in the news, and a lot of people are concerned about it. What is happening to affordability across the country? And I'll let Iris take it from here.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I think when we start to think about rates, people have a lot of questions about affordability. The biggest one being, will we see affordability improve this year? We are definitely in a very rate-sensitive environment right now. I think the common misconceptions about affordability is that prices have to go way up or way down to really move the needle on affordability, and that's just not truly the case. How do we measure affordability? It does come into play with prices. It's a combination of price, rates, and wages. And when you put those three factors together, that's what gives us affordability equation. Right now, we are in a rate-sensitive environment, and that's been the biggest driver of how affordability has really shifted over the past year. We are seeing wages increase. How do we measure affordability? That's really what I want to break down today. Mortgage rates are truly the key factor that are driving today's affordability. Will we see affordability improve this year? I want to start with this quote from Realtor.com, and it says, "Each downward tick in mortgage rates is met with increased buyer demand as many eager home shoppers take advantage of the slightly lower cost of financing a home. More and more people are able to afford financing a home." What I want to show you is how that's impacting affordability and the sign that we are seeing that affordability is improving. I'm not saying that affordability is no longer a challenge, but we're definitely seeing it move to the right direction. This is home ownership affordability, and it walks through the year-over-year declines that we've seen since the beginning of January 21 to January of 23, a 2-year period where this is no surprise to you. It was more affordable to buy a home in January of 21 before mortgage rates stick up significantly than it was last fall. Look at those really dark red bars. They dropped by almost 30%. But what do we see right now? Those lighter red bars over the red coming back up, showing that affordability is improving. And again, that is largely due to increasing wages in this rate-sensitive environment. Let's take a look at affordability in a longer-term context. So if you follow along with us, you have seen this graph before. And this shows that affordability right now, it is at historic low. So when we look at this graph, we look for how high is the bar. The higher the bar, the more affordable it is to purchase a home. Those orange bars are when the housing market crashed. That's when distressed properties, foreclosure, short sales dominate the markets. That's when prices brought affordability to a much more affordable level. But we are in a different environment right now where it's largely based on mortgage rates and wages. When we look at that, those lines over the right, we can see that affordability is much lower as we've seen the volatility in mortgage rates over the past year. Let's break down the past year and take a more zoomed in look at those two bars. Affordability is historically low. This is the same housing affordability index, but it zooms in on a month-over-month basis. We can see in January of 2022, no surprise, bar is higher. It was more affordable to buy a home before rates more than doubled last year. We saw that affordability declined throughout the year, and now we see it moving in the right direction. We see it ticking back up. And the way that we break down this index is we look at that dotted line across the screen. That's the maximum on the index, and it's measured a score of 100. What 100 means is that the home buyer making the median price income can afford to purchase a medium-priced home. If the bar is up above that maximum, homes are more affordable. If it is down below, then qualifying is more challenging. We've seen above and below that line over the past year, and that's when mortgage rates was in that 6 to 6.5% range. A rate-sensitive environment truly impacting affordability right now. So let me break down this data for you as well. At the end of the day, someone who's purchasing a home needs to be able to make their monthly payments. That's essential if they are going to buy a home. That was much easier to do in January of 2021 when it was much more affordable to buy a home. We saw that creep up very significantly over the past couple years. The median monthly mortgage payments peaked around October of last year. We saw much higher mortgage rates at that point. We had seen prices increasing. Well, now that we're seeing mortgage rates easing, we are seeing more neutral home prices. That monthly mortgage payment is coming back down. We're easing out that peak. So that's about $200 difference since last October, when every percentage point counts in the mortgage rates. Every dollar counts in a mortgage payment. Because if someone didn't qualify for a mortgage or couldn't afford that median monthly payment back last fall, maybe they can now. Understanding affordability is really essential, because if you're only looking at prices, then you may not understand the whole picture. Let's talk about the next layer, which is median household income versus qualifying income. I love this graph because it's really starting to show how this is so hyper-local. We know that mortgage rates and wages are our primary driver, but we also know that prices are doing very different things in different markets. So when we talk about affording a home, this becomes very powerful. What you are looking at here is the blue bars show median income in each region of the country. So those are blue bars. We have the US total average over the far left. Now the other bars, the green and the orange and the red. That's qualifying income for a median priced home. It is much more expensive to purchase a home on the West Coast than it is in some of the other markets. As we've seen prices accelerate more in some markets than others. This has been a bigger pain point in different regions of the country. If you look at places like Midwest and the South, it's the opposite. So those making the median price income should be able to qualify for a mortgage on the median price home. Let's take a look at one more piece. And this is the mortgage payment to income ratio. And it goes all the way back to 2000. This is put together by NAR, and their recommendation is that when someone purchases a home, that they spend no more than 25% of their income on principal and interest. That's the bar that you see going across the middle of the screen, that 25% maximum. What do we notice as we look at this? For a long period of time, we were under that 25% maximum. Homes were more affordable, and people could spend less than 25% of their income to purchase the median price home. What do we know last fall? We ticked up above that maximum, so it became more challenging to buy a home. However, what we see as I look at this, again, moving in the right direction. We have come down off that peak underneath the maximum. It is still challenging and not as affordable to buy a home as it were a couple years ago, but we are moving in the right direction.